breaking news concerning the U.S. economy after the stock market's volatile week and falling into a bear market. The Fed taking emergency action today, cutting rates once again, this time to near zero. President Trump urging Americans not to hoard as people rush to stock up on supplies. ABC's chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis has more.
Tonight, the Federal Reserve announcing rare emergency action to calm financial fears, cutting interest rates to near 0%, their lowest level since the Great Recession. President Trump, who's been critical of the Fed previously, tonight applauding.
And I want to congratulate the Federal Reserve. That's a big difference, quite a bit, about a point.
Since the record highs last month, the Dow is now down 21%. Now, one of the nation's top economists, Mark Zandi, predicting our new normal. Store closures like Nike and Apple, restaurant traffic and travel way down, will cost the economy $120 billion in GDP by the end of March, issuing this warning.
Well, the economy's shrinking. We're in recession. People are pulling back.
But Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin disagrees, saying the virus won't cause a recession.
We're clearly going to have a slowdown. And later in the year, obviously, the economic activity will pick up as we confront this virus.
Tom, the Fed says the U.S. economy entered this challenging time on strong financial footing. They say they'll keep the new policy in place until it's clear the U.S. economy has weathered the storm and is back on track.
Hey, everybody. Trevor Noah here. So I just wanted to let you know that we at The Daily Show have decided, don't touch your face. We at The Daily Show have decided that we're not going to be having shows next week. We won't be recording anything from the studio because we're trying to do our part to socially distance ourselves. I've been reading up a lot on this. I know it's confusing. There's a difference between social distancing and quarantine, and social distancing means you try and keep yourself away from people as much as possible, 6 to 10 feet if you have to be in public, but let's try stay away from bars and closed restaurants. I know some people have to eat, and when you're going to eat, but let's try, because the longer we stay out there, the longer coronavirus remains a threat, and the longer the medical system really struggles or will struggle with the indecision, I guess, we have burdened with it. So stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, FaceTime your friends, and hopefully we'll see the other side of this. Other than that, though, let's stay in good spirits. It feels like the end of the world, but I don't think it really is. And I think we can try and help it not be the end of the world if we follow the instructions of healthcare professionals. So, oh yeah, and another thing, stop hoarding everything, guys. You don't have to buy all the toilet paper, okay? Like, I don't know what kind of shits you're having, but calm down. People need toilet paper, people need food. If we all panic, nobody has anything. And if nobody has anything, then there's no more panic. It becomes a vicious cycle. So be considerate of others, take what you need, leave the shop, and let's act like we live in a community, not just by ourselves. I'll be touching base during the week. We'll be making videos here and there. I don't know how funny they'll be because I don't know how funny the world is right now, but we'll see. So stay tuned, and hopefully this will be behind us sooner than later.
Republican Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio and Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Gentlemen, welcome to Meet the Press. As you both, I think, heard, I referred to both of you during that interview with Dr. Fauci. Governor Pritzker, let me start with you with what happened overnight at O'Hare. And again, you weren't the only airport, but every major international airport seemed to have a similar situation. Dr. Fauci seemed to say, look, that is what's going to happen when you come back into this country. What do you believe should have been done that wasn't done?
Well, that's not right. I mean, I have enormous respect for Dr. Fauci, but that's just incorrect. We knew when the president gave the orders that European travel back to the United States was going to be cut off, that there would be an influx of people, Americans and others, that would come before the final cutoff. So what should have happened? They should have increased the Customs and Border Patrol numbers, and they should have increased the number of CDC personnel on the ground doing those checks. They did neither of those. So last night, as people were flooding into O'Hare Airport, they were stuck in a small area, hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's exactly what you don't want in this pandemic. So we had that problem, and then today it's going to be even worse. There are a larger number of flights with more people coming, and they seem completely unprepared.
You have not gotten any reassurance from customs officials that they are going to have more folks on hand today?
Well, here's what I got. I got a call at about 11 o'clock last night after that tweet from a White House staffer who yelled at me about the tweet. That is what I got. Now, we've been talking to Customs and Border Patrol officials directly on the ground at O'Hare. I've been working with the mayor and our senators to make sure that we're getting the federal government to pay attention to this problem, because we can't have it happen all day today.
Governor DeWine, you've been among the more governors that have, I think, following Dr. Fauci's advice, and frankly, I think your own health official who said in pandemics, people think you're overreacting at the start, and then after it's over, they think you've underreacted. Based on what you heard from Dr. Fauci, are you going to close bars and restaurants in the state of Ohio?
Well, we're certainly looking at that. We started off last week closing the schools. We reduced the number of people gathered together to 100. We've restricted access to our nursing homes, to our prisons. So we're taking tough steps. And Chuck, I think it's very instructive. I know people have talked about this before, but I just looked at a chart. And you look at the pandemic of 1918, you compare the two cities of St. Louis and Philadelphia. Yeah. And you saw Philadelphia didn't get it. But the thing that I noticed in the chart is Philadelphia was only 2 weeks behind St. Louis. And so Philadelphia's, it went up straight like this. St. Louis is more like that. And so what it tells us is, all the people I've been consulting, from Dr. Amy Acton, who's doing a great job as my health director, but to national experts, they say, look, every day counts so much, and you cannot wait. You've got to move very, very quickly. And look, these are tough decisions. We're inconveniencing people. It's making people's lives change. Yeah. But we've got to save lives. Everything we're doing is to save lives.
It struck me, Governor, that on Wednesday, I think you announced 6 cases, Thursday 13, Friday 26. We can do basic math here. Double, double, double. It's what Dr. Fauci said. I'm certain you're not excited about your 2 p.m. briefing today that you'll be doing. Do you have any indication that anything is bending this curve down to that mound yet?
Well, I don't think we can tell, but as the experts tell me, we're always way, way behind in what we know. Our testing is just now ramping up. For example, the Cleveland Clinic, University of Cincinnati, some other hospitals are just now basically coming online in their ability to test. So we're going to see the number of tests go up dramatically. But what I'm telling the people of Ohio, look, none of this should be a surprise. We know there's a bunch of people out there who are carrying this virus around, and that's part of the message, particularly to young people who maybe aren't so worried about the 20-somethings. Look, you may not get really, really sick. You may get lucky, but you may take that to your grandmother who's 80, and we know people in their 80s, the mortality rate's at least 15 to 20%. So everybody's got to take care of everybody else.
Governor Pritzker, and I'm sure other cities will be offended if I say this, Chicago does St. Patty's Day on a level that many other cities do not. I know you've been concerned about the crowds at bars and restaurants already over the weekend. Are you thinking about shutting down bars and restaurants, particularly after hearing what Dr. Fauci said?
Well, let me just compliment Governor DeWine and the other governors. We're the ones who've had to provide the leadership because the federal government just has fallen down on this. So they didn't advise us to shut down major events, sporting events, parades. We made those decisions on our own. They are not the ones that advised us to close schools. We made those decisions on our own. So we're on our own out here. I wish we had leadership from Washington. We're not getting it. With regard to St. Patrick's Day, we shut down the parade. We didn't color the river green as we usually do. And I have advised that we need to keep our crowds smaller. And yesterday we saw that, we put a limit of 250 people in gatherings. We canceled all the gatherings larger than that. Yeah. And then yesterday what we saw was many young people who think they're impervious to this went out and celebrated. And I had my 2:30 briefing yesterday, called out the problem of people on the street. And unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of movement. People aren't understanding that even if you're healthy, even if you're young, that you may be a carrier and you're going to hand it over to somebody else. COVID-19 is spreading because even healthy people can be walking around giving it to other people. So we need to go on lockdown.
I was just going to say, it sounds like then Are you going to close bars and restaurants? That is your plan? Or you sort of contradicted yourself there, saying you were going to keep the size smaller, but then you're making the case to lock down.
Well, what I'm telling you is that we've been on the trajectory now and planning for each of these steps, because it's not easy. You can imagine each one of these decisions has consequences to them that are not just about the pandemic, they're also about people's livelihoods. So we're actually looking hard at that decision making today. We obviously saw what happened in Europe.
Right.
Nowhere in the United States really has there been a lockdown on bars and restaurants, but it's something that we're seriously looking at.
Both of you have primaries on Tuesday. You have indicated a couple of days ago you guys will go forward. Any hesitance? Governor DeWine, you first.
We're going to go ahead, but we're telling people, again, to be careful. The good thing in Ohio is we have basically 4 weeks of voting. People can vote today. We're urging them to go vote today.
Gotcha.
They can vote Monday. They've got 13 hours on Tuesday. So that just naturally spreads it out. We're asking them to be very, very careful.
Governor Pritzker, any second thoughts about the primary on Tuesday?
We've done the same as Ohio. We have actually lengthened our hours of early voting. We have mail balloting. Okay. We've had record mail balloting this year. So we're going to go ahead with it, but we've been extra careful at all of our polling places. Yeah. Everybody is practicing good hygiene, and we're making sure that it's safe for people to come and vote. The schools are closed, so many people will be voting in schools, and there won't be big crowds.
I have a feeling it may be the last primaries we have for a little while. Anyway, Governors DeWine and Pritzker, thank you both for joining us. I know these are long days and nights.
Jeff.
Thank you both for your service.